Hey guys, it's COREROSS, and today we're going to be bringing to life a Rainbow Six Siege character using a Resin 3D printer. And as you can see from this little tease of the final product, it's incredible how far 3D printers have come. So today we're going to be unboxing and using the Elegoo Mars 5 Ultra, and I got sent this for free, no payment for the video, but indeed I get myself a free 3D printer out of it. Also, this is going to be a hell of a challenge because Resin does not like printing in cold conditions. And currently when this printer arrived in Scotland, so that's of course where I live, it was extremely cold, like below freezing at that point. So I had to come up with a whole heating solution to make sure the resin stayed at a good temperature. Not to mention, resin is also toxic in its liquid form, and you're not supposed to breathe in the fumes as well. So this is a whole upgrade for me. I've been doing 3D printing for a couple of years now, but that's with filament-based printing, which has come along a long way, and it's very easy to use these days. Whereas these resin printers are starting to get to the same point, but the resin is still toxic. And I did get offered a 3D printer last year, and I turned it down because I thought I'm not quite at this stage yet. And for some reason, this year I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So let's talk about what you get in the box. You get yourself, of course, a Mars 5 Ultra printer. And this thing looks very futuristic, and it's also very compact. And resin printers themselves do have a smaller printer area than other 3D printer types. But because of the quality, it's definitely worth giving up that extra print volume to have that insane... basically it looks like it was manufactured in like a freaking factory when you get the end product, and you can of course just do that in your home. It's really cool. And then you've also got a toolkit, and this includes everything you're going to need to handle all the liquid resin. You've got like gloves and masks, you've got funnels, but you've also got stuff like USB drive, Wi-Fi antenna, scrapers, and even extra screws. You also get a license key for Chi2 Box Pro. However, this is a temporary license key, so it's much more like a trial, really. And afterwards, if you still want to have the Pro version, you're going to have to get a subscription. So I think that's pretty rubbish. And then there is a little bit of assembly and some good old peeling to do as well. So that there is the LCD screen that actually basically switches on and off to allow the UV light that's underneath it to come through and cure the resin in the layers as it prints. And then above that, you have the resin tank. Of course, this is where you pour your resin in, and it holds it as you print up through it. And this printer is capable of doing time lapses with its built-in camera, although my camera is broken. It only gives back static. And as far as I can tell, it's not user replaceable from the information I've been able to find online for this printer. So unfortunately, that is just a dead camera on this printer. And then finally, we have the build plate. This goes at the top, and as it prints, it goes into the liquid and prints basically upside down from what you would normally see on other 3D printers. And as a result, you'll end up with the print coming out of the resin as the build plate rises back up. And then on top of that, you've got a cover, and this makes the printer look really cool, but it also stops the UV light getting in, as that would cure the UV resin and result in you not really getting much printed if that was the case. And then you've got an onboard touchscreen which allows you to customize these settings and of course manage your print as it is printing. And of course, don't forget to attach the Wi-Fi antenna so you can then print stuff wirelessly over the network. And now it's time to find out if I've bitten off more than I can chew and see if I can actually print stuff in the middle of winter. And it's going to be a bumpy ride. Today we'll be using the Elegoo standard 8K resin, and this is a space gray color. And like I said before, this stuff is toxic in its liquid form, including the vapor and getting on your skin. So you gotta wear gloves, you gotta really be mindful of yourself. And this stuff does not go down the sink. You have to dispose of it in a completely different way. And of course, you also don't want to accidentally expose it to sunlight, otherwise it's going to cure. So long story short, I did have a bunch of fails to begin with where the resin was curing but not attaching to the build plate, so I was having issues getting that to work. But all I had to do was crank up the setting for the initial layer cure time up to, I think it was 30 seconds I ended up going for, and that finally gave me success and things started to print. Although I'm actually skipping a step here, you also have to take your models here and put them into the software so you can actually slice them. Now, in a normal printer, you just basically put them on the build plate the best you can, slice it and print it, and maybe add supports or stuff like this. This here, you want to always have supports with printing like this. So you got to go in, you got to add these supports in, you've got to then hollow your models, you got to put holes in your models so you can get the liquid resin that would otherwise be trapped in there out, and you have to go through a process of really trying to figure out the best way to set things up. Now, I'm a newbie here, so I've definitely not done the best attempt, but I decided to print off Fuse here and Edie from Mass Effect. And the reason I went for both of these is I wanted, of course, to try and print something Rainbow Six based. There's not many 3D printed Rainbow Six models out there that I can find, but this one looked cool, and I'm quite a Fuse fan, so I thought it'd be great. I also went for Edie here because I printed her off previously on the other 3D printer, which is FDM based, and I thought she's a great model. I can go ahead and give her a go here. And also the other reason I went and printed her is when it comes to 3D resin, there seems to be a certain subset of people who print resin models, and they seem to like busty ladies. And there's so many models of busted ladies out there, or maybe you're just printing off Warhammer figurines. But it seems to be that on the FDM printers, it's like you print off tanks and stuff, it's cool. And then on the resin printers, I see a lot of busty ladies getting printed. So I thought Edie here was a perfect fit, and I've already previously printed her, so I thought I could go in there knowing it's a good model to start. Also, these are pretty small as well. I could easily, I think, 5 times them probably in size and get them off in this printer, and they would look exceptional. But I wanted to try and not go too crazy on my first ever print. So this is them here after printing in their support structures, and they look really freaking good. I was amazed when these finally came out successful, and I was like, holy moly. And it's just really cool. And when we go into the details on this stuff, it blows my mind how good it is. However, another complex part here is you do need to clean these in isopropyl alcohol. So the whole process of working with the resin, printing stuff, and then cleaning it is all complicated. There is water soluble resin out there too. However, you still can't put that stuff down the drain as well. But for my first resin 3D prints here, these came out looking exceptional. My hollowing job seemed to be at least adequate, and my drainage holes that I placed in the bottom and in the tops of the models seemed to all work and do their job, and thankfully I didn't have liquid resin pouring out of these after I did the cleaning process, so seems to have worked great. But the quality is exceptional here. So I want to focus right down to Fuse and his gun, and specifically his muzzle brake, because you can actually see through it. And I'm like, what? That is insane. I've seen that quality before, but it was from factory level 3D printers that were indeed using resin as well, but I've never seen that on a consumer level. So this thing just blew my mind. But yeah, for my first foray into resin 3D printing, I am very happy with the outcomes. I will say that I had multiple failures before I got here. It was not particularly easy, and I knew it was going to be complicated going in, but I'm very happy to have done it. And I'm going to return and definitely use this 3D printer again, but I'll do it in a warmer climate. So when summer runs around, I'm going to do a bunch more and see what we can do. If you do know of any really good 3D printed Rainbow Six stuff out there, I would love to know, because I can only find really quite old stuff that isn't that brilliant. And I'd love to know if there's just a bunch of 3D figurines or something like that could be potentially printed on this for Rainbow Six Siege. But anyway guys, there'll be a link in the description below if you want to check out any of the stuff you see in today's video, and I'll catch you next time.